Good morning, y'all. This morning I just wanted to share the power of prayer and the power of knowing the truth about our circumstances and our situations, and how God has given us the authority to be our own God, to have our own power through Him on this earth. In Genesis 1 verse 26, it says, "Then God said, 'Let us make human beings so that they are like us. Let them rule over the fish and the seas and the birds in the sky. Let them rule over the livestock and all the wild animals, and let them rule over the creatures that move along the ground.'" So basically, because God was a spirit, He wasn't in human form. He created us in His image. He created us with Him in us so that we can rule over the earth. And where people get really mixed up is thinking that, God has like complete authority over everything that happens. So like when people say, well, if God's so great, then why do they give kids cancer? Or why does He give kids cancer? Well, that's not God. That's the work of the devil. And so Satan, who's a fallen angel, came down to earth and created chaos on this earth. And he is the one that has come to steal, kill, and destroy everything that God has designed for us. And so when we are in circumstances where, things are not going our way, that's something that we have to look within ourselves and see where we're allowing the enemy to have that authority over our life. And Satan doesn't get his power from God. He gets his power from us, because we are that powerful of a being, because we have God in us, where He takes what God has put in us and He manipulates it, and He lies, and He does things to make us believe that we're not worthy of God's goodness. And so we all have liars, manipulators, cheaters, people in our lives who have completely, I would say, broken our spirit. And that's the sense that they've broken our spirit, because either we've had love for them. Usually, betrayal comes from people closest to us, because if it's, a stranger, like, who cares if they betray us? Or it's not really betrayal. It's just like, okay, they did something against us. But betrayal comes from people that we love the most, because, there's a connection there. And so when we get lied to, we get stolen from, we get cheated on, that breaks our spirit. But the truth is that we can come back and we can face that with God's truth, and counteract. We all say, so many times people are like, well, God can make all things for His good, and that is absolutely true. But on the contrary of that, all things that are good, Satan can come in and make bad. So we have to be aware of the areas in our life that we're allowing the enemy to come in and tell us lies about what God's already put in us. And so I want to share a quick story about my anxiety. I've shared it already about my anxiety and how I've had anxiety since I was 13 years old, but it was covered up by heart medication that was also used for, it's actually originally an anxiety medication that they use for my heart condition. But I was not aware of this medication and all of the things that it did until, I lost my marbles. And then it was like going around trying to find all those marbles and put it back together. Well, after I got arrested in February, I was in the emergency room 2 times for anxiety. I literally thought I was going to die. It felt like I was coming to my end. And at that point in my life, I was almost okay with it, because I had just gotten wrongfully arrested. I had all these fines, all these things that I had to pay for, and I didn't have a job. I was still trying to recover. I was taking care of my babies, and I felt so defeated. And so I was trying so hard to keep myself alive, but also, like, I just felt so overwhelmed. And so I ended up in the emergency room a couple times. Well, then I got arrested again in May. So I got arrested because my public defender failed to tell me that this specific judge has times that you have to blow into this breathalyzer, and I was told it was 3 times a day. So I do it morning when I woke up, noon, and then at night before I went to bed. Well, it's not supposed to be just those times. It's supposed to be morning 5 to 8 a.m., night 5 to 8 p.m., and then 10 to 12 p.m. also, or 12 a.m. And so for months, I didn't know this. My public defender did not tell me this. I had still 3 blows a day for 3 hours, or 3 blows a day, all at 0.00. They were all like, I had not had any alcohol in my system. But when I went up to see the judge, she saw that I had 67 missed blows, and she threw me back in jail and raised my bond. Anyways, so here I am getting thrown back in jail thinking that I had a public defender, somebody that was going to defend me, and I get thrown back in jail right in front of him. And so after that, I ended up in the emergency room 4 more times with anxiety. And they all happened within that weekend. And also that same weekend, my son ended up with salmonella poisoning in his body, and he was hospitalized. So here I am taken back to the original place where I was having severe PTSD, because Children's Hospital has always been, a place that I don't like to go to, but I'm forced to because of this heart condition. And so now I'm stuck in this hospital for 4 days. Well, prior to that, I'd gone to the emergency room. I took an ambulance because I couldn't drive, and no one was around to take me. So I took an ambulance to the hospital, and then again ended up at Children's Hospital. And while I was at Children's Hospital, I had just had my son in there the night before, and they had told me that he was fine, but then they got his culture back. And while I was sitting in the hospital room talking about my anxiety with the doctor, I get a call from a nurse saying that I needed to bring my son back because the culture came back and he needs antibiotics through IV immediately. So we take him down there, end up in the hospital for 4 days, and after 3 days, I lost my mind. Like, I was having severe anxiety, had to go and get myself, checked out downstairs in the emergency room once again, and the doctors reassured me, Danielle, your heart is fine. This is anxiety. You need to, just know that your heart is okay. And I'm like, there's no way. My heart literally feels like it's gonna pop out of my chest. So I look back at the monitor and I see that my heart is fine. There's nothing wrong with my heart. This is just anxiety. Well, anxiety, in that moment, I realized, wow, this is the devil. The devil is mimicking my heart condition, because he's telling me every time I have anxiety, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. And I'm like looking at my monitor like, clearly I'm not going to die, but that's what he was telling me. And so all these years, my anxiety was the enemy telling me, you're going to die, you're going to die. And so that was always in the back of my mind. So when I got out of the hospital got out of the ER that night, I went back and I just went to bed and I started praying. I was like, God, get us out of this hospital. Clean my son of the salmonella. Please get me out of this place. I have to get out of here. Next morning, totally forgot about all that, because I had more peace. And within, 2 hours of us waking up, a doctor comes in and says, so you get to go home. And I'm like, and I was thinking, oh, well, he just still had, a little bit of salmonella, and he's like, no, his blood work last night came back and there's absolutely no sign or trace of salmonella in his body. And it gives me chills all over again, because I was like, wow, that was the true power of prayer in that moment. I was able to identify the enemy and rebuke him, and in return, it healed my son. Magnus was so sick that the doctors and nurses that came into our room had to wear full-on hazmat suits because he was so sick. And then within less than 12 hours, it's gone. So I just want to encourage anybody that is battling anything right now, rebuke the enemy. You have authority in God.